they're all in different places all over the place. Royal Roads is situated on the traditional and the unceded lands of the Lekwungen speaking people. So the Kasapsum, the Esquimalt, and the Lekwungen Songhees ancestors and their families. It's a most beautiful campus, and we feel it's such a privilege to be able to learn and work and study there. And you know, we can learn so much from the reciprocal relationship that the Lekwungen people had and still have with the lands. We're really grateful to carry forth this lineage that we gather together and share and learn in this place. And so right now, wherever you are, if you want to just put in the chat box a little bit of where you are, we would love to know that. By the way, I'm Dr. Hilary Leighton. I'm the program head, so my slide doesn't come up for a while, but I thought I'd just maybe not just think you know who I am. So if you have a moment to pop something in the chat, where are you coming from? You know, what lands are you situated on? Just to give us a little bit of an idea. So Christy, are you, I can't really see the chat from here so well. Oh, I can see there's lots of chat going on though.
Yeah, I can read out a few. So we have people joining us from Calgary, Alberta, Czech Republic, amazing. Edmonton, South Africa, Nova Scotia.
Yep.
Treaty 7, Saskatoon, Treaty 6, California.
Toronto. Yeah.
This is fantastic. Wow. We have such a
Nairobi, fantastic.
Yeah, global crowd today. Salt Spring Island, Coast Salish, Hulkaminum territory.
Wow, so cool. Saanich, Vancouver, Tsleil-Waututh Nation, and the Musqueam and the Squamish. Beautiful. Rocky Mountain House, Alberta. Wow. Tehran. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Do you want to go for this? Christy, do you want to introduce?
Absolutely. So we are so happy that you're joining us from all around the world today. We're talking about the MA, or the Masters of Arts, the Graduate Diploma, and the Graduate Certificate in Environmental Education and Communication. So my name is Christy Jones. I'm a Student Recruitment Associate here at the university, and I'll be helping take us through some of the presentation, but I'm sharing that honor today with Dr. Hilary Leighton, who you've met already with that wonderful land acknowledgement. And we have a whole slate of other associate faculty members who will be joining us in a little bit. So we'll get into some introductions for those wonderful folks who will be telling us about this whole experience of this program in a few slides. So our agenda today, I will take us through a brief overview of the Royal Roads experience and what you can expect with attending a program with us. Then we'll get into our interviews with our associate faculty members. We'll go through some program specific information and the application process. Feel free to drop any questions you have into the chat box as we go along, and we will try to get to as many as we can today.
And just a note that the photographs, of course, are of the campus. So just to notice that on each of the slides, or we've inserted a lot of MEEK type, that's the acronym for the program, MEEK type photos of our students and some of the adventures we get on further on in the slide deck. Thanks, Christy.
And I will mention a few folks that we didn't introduce as well. Is we have a few amazing colleagues behind the scenes. Mark Dickinson can help you out with any tech challenges you have. You're able to just type in the chat box if you're having any issues. He can try and help you troubleshoot that. And we also have Bev Hill, an enrollment advisor with the university, who will be helping us out in the chat box as well, providing some extra links and things like that that will be useful and provide some context for some different parts we'll be talking about. So to get into what we value here at Royal Roads, the first one there is first names first. So we have a smaller student body at Royal Roads, and that means that what we can deliver is a very personalized experience. Anybody that you communicate with at the university, whether it's obviously your teachers and your classmates, but anybody from student services, financial services, the program staff, it's always a very personalized experience that you get with us. And you don't need to memorize your student number or anything like that, I promise. So the next one we have on here is Learn Together Forever. That refers to the cohort model that we have at Royal Roads. And it means that you start your program with a group of people, continue throughout with them, and then you finish the program together. And it creates this really awesome network and bond that helps you get through the program, but it's also a network that you can use both personally and professionally years to come after you finish. And I actually took a program at Royal Roads as well, and I can attest to that being probably my favorite part of it, was just being able to learn from such a diverse set of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next on here, we have life is also an education. And this is a reference to our flexible admissions model, which we'll get into a little bit more at the end of the presentation. But what it means is we take into account who you are holistically and your different life experiences when you're coming into the program, and how that can inform what you bring to the program and how it will help your goals moving forward. And lastly on here are real world classrooms. So we have what we call here scholar practitioners at Royal Roads. And this means that who you learn from is either doing current research and or work in the field. So that means that what you learn in your program is very current, up to date, and will help you really address today's problems that we're experiencing right out of the gate from your program.
And Christy, when we met, you were in the graduate certificate in sustainable community development out of our school. And that is real world learning, right? You were working with the municipality on real live cases. And I mean, it was such a fine example of this applied way that we look at what we're learning here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's really what you're learning is directly applicable to not just your career, but really helping your community that you're working with, or different communities around the country, depending on where you're taking your program. So yeah, definitely something that is at an elevated level from other institutions I've attended, I would say.
Thank you.
And we're also in Ashoka U Changemaker campus. So this is a designation that a select number of institutions have received, and we're very, very proud of it. It means what the type of education we deliver is interdisciplinary, it's entrepreneurial, it's solutions oriented, and again, really applies to the critical issues that we're experiencing in the world today.
Yeah, let alone our motto is life dot changing. I don't think the dot is necessarily necessary, except that is our, and we were talking about that just yesterday. We were in small breakouts, and the head of marketing was with us, and she said, in the early days when they were branding, they actually went and talked to students and people who worked here and had walks around the campus, and they just kept hearing this over and over again. So that's how we adopted that. But the Changemaker designation really fits, because this is the time to be able to show up and start making those necessary changes in the world. And this degree is very much oriented to that, so that we're really providing space and learning for people to improve their efficacy as environmental educators and communicators in this way, at this time, critical time.
Mm-hmm. And a little bit of our campus. So you've seen a few photos as we've gone through the previous slides, but just so you can get to know us a little bit, our programs are online right now, although a select number of them will be going back to in-person in January. But we're just assessing the session, what we do as things evolve public health-wise with the pandemic. But we still want you to know where we are and a little bit about our place. So we have Hatley Castle here on the top left-hand corner. It's a very central part of our campus, and you can see it's surrounded by lots and lots of trees. We're on over 100 acres of old growth forest, so there's lots of beautiful trails for you to explore around our campus, and also some manicured gardens to experience as well. So the top right-hand corner is the Japanese gardens, but we also have the rose gardens, Italian gardens, a croquet lawn, so lots of amazing pieces of nature around our campus, kind of adjacent to the castle. And the bottom left-hand corner is Esquimalt Lagoon. So we're also right on the ocean, and Esquimalt Lagoon is a bird sanctuary. So there's lots of wildlife that you can see from there. And the mountain range you can kind of see in that photo is the United States. So we're really close to our neighbors over there as well. And it's really a stunning spot to, have some peace in mind in between your classes and things like that. And then the bottom right-hand corner is just an ode to the fact that we've been doing online learning for 25 years. This is something when Royal Roads began that we wanted to implement and really have be a really integral part of our philosophy. So luckily, everything that we had already been doing with online learning really, complemented well to the situation in the world when the pandemic happened, and that our students were still able to be very supported by our programs and everything like that. And the programming that was happening on campus, we were able to translate quite quickly, I would say, to the credit of our amazing faculty members and staff, to an online format as well.
Yeah, thanks, Christy. You know, it's a kind of a beautiful both and in this day and age to have such a gorgeous campus and our short residencies under normal circumstances, and then to deliver the rest of the degree online so people can work and live and, you know, do a degree while you know, keep going in life. And while that's an intense thing, it's also a purposeful thing. I mean, we've planned it that way, and we were the first that type of university in 1995. And so we are celebrating this 25 years right now. And yeah, we were probably a bit more prepared than others at this point. So that is an ode. I love when you say that. It's an ode to how we've managed during this crisis, and even been able to somehow, and I'll let the faculty talk a bit about this, but we've heard students say even provide some magic in the online environment. So there you go, some of the magic of this place. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just right now, I want to introduce my colleagues. We've got with us Dr. Liza Ireland, Dr. Bob Kull, and Dr. Gio Takach. And I think I'll start with Liza, if I may. And hi, Liza, I can see you. You can maybe want to unmute. Yep.
Hi, everyone.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
I don't know if you recognize any of these feet in this photograph, but you know, those are some feet you've met before. Mm-hmm. So I'll just give a brief introduction. I just want to congratulate you, Liza, on being the newest recipient of the Kelly Teaching Award, our highest award for teaching. So that's just fantastic, and we're so thrilled for you, and it's so deserved. Liza has had many hats in this program. She was program head for a couple of years. She's always been right alongside with the students, and she engaged with Royal Roads, teaching, supervising. She's just been such an invaluable person to me, helping to guide this program. And so my question, my dear Liza, who teaches in the first residency with Dr. Gio, could you just say a little bit about what you teach, please? And in a nutshell, although we know what lives in a nutshell is just a nut. So if you could just, in a concise way, tell us what you're teaching and why it matters, like why it really matters to you now, why you love it, that kind of thing. So I'd love to hear.
Thank you so much. And to pick up on your metaphor, anything in a nut actually is a seed to grow further. So I'm able to teach the first course, and it's the absolute favorite course that I teach at Royal Roads. It's developing your environmental foundations, environmental understandings. And so I base the course around ecological principles of sustainable living things. So how do sustainable living things actually thrive and survive? And how can we use those then to build our environmental understandings, but also our environmental education and communication? So it's an outdoor-based course. When we're on campus, we're exploring all the different environments of this incredible campus. But this last summer, we transitioned to an online format, which is a wonderful challenge. And the magic just came to life. I was so thrilled because students who might have been a little reticent that go, oh, well, wait, this is an online program. It's supposed to be outdoors. It was outdoors, and it was outdoors exploring your own environments. And so the course was actually enriched because all the students brought their learnings and explorations in their diverse environments into our shared format. So it was really exciting to see the diversity that came into the course, and students were still outside, still learning and engaged. So we look
I just love that, Liza. I just want to stop there for a minute. That is so fantastic because, nature is teacher wherever you are. You don't have to fly to an exotic place. I mean, that's one of the principles of sustainability that we want to talk about, right?
Exactly.
That right here, close in, is where we can do our work. Yeah.
And the students were saying they had no idea what was in their backyard until they started exploring and looking right around them. And so it was really exciting because then the environment is not separate from us, but it's part of us wherever we are, which was really a key part of the course. So we look at how we can explore and learn about our natural environment. So what are these ecological principles and what do they mean? What is interdependence and cycling and energy flows? What is community and diversity? and adaptation and emergence, and how we can use these to build our environmental education programming and our communications, so that environment becomes a frame of mind, not something that's out there and separate from us. So it's such an exciting course to teach. We look at the evolution of environmental education and communication, and we're looking at environment sustainability. So we're looking at what's going on in our world around us. And of course, COVID was a brilliant context to be seeing the course in that context. But it arises out of the interests of the students, because you create your own exciting activities in teams for the rest of the cohort. And I was amazed at how well those came across online. And students, we're all sitting outside while we were learning as much as we could, and coming to you from our outside environments through the mediated environment. But we were building capacity throughout this course, and it sets us up to understand the diverse worldviews around us and grounded in the natural environment. So it sets the stage for so many of the other courses. And I teach alongside Geo in communication. So we've been able to build some collaborative assignments. So we're using independently in our course, we're using photography, we're using active learning and developing of programming. But with Geo, we're developing these combined environmental education and communication, looking at where they intersect. And
well, that's a great segue. You know, I might segue to Geo on that, but before I do, Liza, what you had said, I just didn't want to go too quickly over what you said about COVID. I mean, you know, when you're teaching systems, or you're teaching about the patterns that prevail in the universe, you know, often we have to go and look for examples when we're teaching. But, you know, the examples are right in front of us right now. We're in it. You know, we're in some of these, you know, these moments of adaptation and mitigation, and even collapse and back loops, and, you know, flow through and reorganization. Like, it's just, this is also just a kind of a spectacular time for teaching these concepts.
It's very much how we can see the environment, society, and the economy totally intertwined, and how we can adapt and emerge the solution so that our education and communication is really relevant to what is needed in society. How we can bring that environment from out there, separate and on the back page for many people, to ever present as a as just in inequality with the environment, the economy, and the society. So all three imperatives are part of how we adapt and emerge going forward.
Right, and that's also a good point. So many environmental studies programs, I find, can get myopic and forget that we, you know, we still have to make livings, and, you know, so there is always the economic, the social, and the environmental, you know, triadic lens to look, because they can all use something of the other and become something greater by its constituent parts. Like, beautiful.
And so my course really starts the program off really grounding people in the natural world, really understanding us as natural aspects of our natural world, and how does this natural world function, and how are we part of it?
So good. Well, I'll segue to Geo. Bob, we'll get to you at the end there, my friend. But Geo, because you two teach together in the first residency, you know, what is it that you're teaching, and, you know, why does it matter to you and, you know, to the world right now? What's going on?
Thanks, Hilary. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I have the immense privilege and delight to teach the environmental communication course in the MEEC program. I actually live in the School of Communication and Culture, where I run in one of the undergraduate programs there. And I have had the great privilege, this will be maybe the fourth or fifth. Okay, thank you, Hilary. I have seen this woman work, and I think she models exactly, this program models exactly what Royal Roads is about, and what drew me to Royal Roads. The focus on the cohort-based learning model to provide transformative experiences by putting people in a group, getting them, creating the climate for them to bond and to learn together. And there's so much rich experiential stuff that happens there. Also, there's an applied focus. We love our theory. Heck, I teach theory. But how much sweeter is it when you can use the theory and apply it to work with communities, to work with yourself, small groups, communities, provinces, people around the world to make something better. And that's really a core focus. And environmental communication, it's important to me, and I think for you, because it does two things. Environmental communication teaches us, and it helps us do things, which we call pragmatic, but it also shapes our attitudes and actions, which we call constitutive. So what we say about the environment actually has been shown to influence not only what we feel, but what we actually end up doing. So there's great power in that. And in this course, just to conclude, we will talk about a wide variety of things. We'll talk about environment in visual and popular culture. We'll look at risk communication, communicating science, how to do environmental journalism. We bring in some top drawer guest speakers on the subject. My own particular focus is on arts-based communication in environmental communication, arts-based performance, using the tools and methods and communication strategies, if you can call it that, from the arts in order to increase our toolkit as environmental communicators. We need logic. It's the foundation of scientific communication. We need those numbers. We need that horrendous parts per million chart that the Scripps Institute gives us. However, how much more powerful complementing that to understand how to use emotion in the communication as a way to get people to probe their own perspectives and feelings, and as a way to connect with your audience through that. So that's a little bit on environmental communication and the course.
That's moving us to action. That's really moving us to action, Gio. Right? Like that's what art can do. It can move us to action. It can help us make that pivot, you know, and it's just a pivot to have less, you know, we all come with these partial understandings, but this pivot to have this broader worldview, this ability to see, you know, the necessity, as you say, of the statistics and the science, but how we're going to present that and how we're going to communicate that. I failed to introduce you. You're such a gem. We stole him from the School of Communication and Culture. Well, only temporarily. He still lives there. But I mean, Gio, you're such an amazing, just an anchor in this program. And that the two of you and Liza, who at that first residency, I often have students say, what are you thinking? These things, like we're outside all day and then we're in with this communication and these strategies and this, you know, we're really stretching ourselves. What were you thinking? I said, well, of course, this is, you know, this madness has method to it. And there's a beautiful, perfect complement that comes right at the crucible of those two courses. And afterwards, students thank me, but it's during. They wonder, what are we into here? What's happened? But it's just so excellent. It's most excellent how you've brought the environmental communications course to life. It's not just and communication, it's a particular kind of communication that's so essential right now because we haven't done a good job of communicating what's going on in the world. Or it hasn't moved people. You know, we may know these things, but it hasn't moved people. So we haven't really deeply identified enough when we're communicating. So, Gio, I'm liking the hat.
Well, I won't tell you what the wind chill is where I am at this moment, but it's not just a beauty accessory is all I will say.
You are beautiful. Thank you, Gio. That's wonderful. Bob, I want to go over to you now. Speaking of worldviews, Bob's been with our program an awfully long time, longer than I have been, and has done some amazing research on solitude. In fact, did his PhD and wrote a book called Solitude about spending a year in Patagonia. And I'd say, Bob, your course is brilliant. And I know you've taught systems before. And one really great part of your contribution, I think, to this program is how often students rely on a critical conversation they have with you during second residency just as you help them coach them about writing an abstract about their thinking, about their research they're going to embark on, they often emerge with clarity and real permission, real encouragement to do something that's authentic to them. Sorry about that, folks. That's authentic to them and is, you know, really something that will be super applied in their life. And so I'm so grateful for that aspect, even though it's not teaching per se. But what you do teach is the Worldviews and Ethics course as an elective, which many of our students take and many general study students take. Could you speak about what you love about that course or what you love about anything else? And maybe I'll just mute myself so I don't get any more phone calls. Over to you, Bob.
Hi, guys. As Hilary has pointed out, there are some kind of nutty people in this program teaching. I'm the outlier in that I'm 100% normal. So that, why are you laughing? Oh, so for me, the most exciting part, I think, or one of the most exciting parts of living is aha moments. When we wake up and just suddenly see the world in a different way. And the feeling is gratitude. It's just like, it's this huge gift. Like, wow, I had no idea the world was this way. And so that's the intention of my course, is that we share multiple aha moments together in discovering who we are and who others are, how the world is, that goes way beyond what we're used to, what our view of the world. And that kind of day by day we go, wow, this isn't how I thought the world was. This isn't who I thought I was. So for me, that's what education's about, that experience of aha, of waking up. My course isn't interested in correct answers because I personally don't think there are any. I think if you're an engineer building a bridge, it's a good idea to have correct answers. But in a course like Worldviews and Ethics, it's about depth of exploration, the quality of your questions, and the willingness to step beyond what you're comfortable with. And so in the course, there are 3 threads. One are the typical resources, except they're atypical in that I'm not that firm a believer in reading. So I use a lot of videos and audio recordings and stuff like that, non-academic sorts of resources. Anything that tickles my fancy that I think, this is saying something important. The second thread is our conversations with each other. So not only do I teach the course on Moodle, so written conversations with each other, but I break the course into teams of 6 people, and then I have a 2-hour conference call with each team each week. And so it develops this really deep sense of trust and intimacy, is that we can bring out our questions, our uncertainties, our confusions, even our angers and rages about ourselves and the world and about me, the instructor. So all of that's welcome in the course. My encouragement is for you to bring all of yourself into the course. The third strand is looking within. It's difficult to explore worldviews and ethics if we're just focusing outward. And so a fundamental part of the course is to look inward. Who am I? And we do this by having mindfulness reflection as part of our daily practice during the course, of just being still with ourselves and having those aha moments about ourselves as well. So that's a fundamental part of the course. So it's not a typical academic course, and it's about finding our place in the world, our sense of ourselves in the world. One of the things I really like about the MEEC program is that often in academics, there's a real focus on competition. You're competing against the other students. And there's almost none of that in the MEEC program. It's really cooperative, of supporting each other, of how we do this together, how we learn together. We challenge each other, but we learn together. We're not trying to get above each other, to beat each other, but to climb the hills together.
You know, Bob, I see that also with the faculty. You know, we're all working together and collaborating, and that's really rare too. Not at Royal Roads, but at lots of institutions. You know, there's lots of competition, and I find this group to just be really great to work with. Everyone's helping each other and supporting each other.
Yeah, no, it's a treat. It really is a treat. And, you know, if I have difficulties, problems, I don't hesitate to reach out. I don't feel like, oh, I'm going to be looked at like I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay. So just a couple of more things. One of the treats in where many people are getting this because there's so much online teaching, but I've been doing this for quite a few years now. And compared to on-campus learning, learning online's a real treat because each person is coming to the course, participating in the course from their own world. So we're not leaving our worlds behind and coming together on campus. We're coming together virtually on Zoom, and each of us is still embedded in our work life, our family life, where we go for walks in the woods and that kind of stuff. And so that's an incredible treat, that ongoing integration. And the other thing is, when you're a professor at a standard university, you don't get to see the learning process all that much. You give a lecture and then students go off, they work with each other. But all of that, I'm present to all of that when I teach online. And so that is a real gift, to be with you as you're exploring and questioning and sharing your doubts with yourselves and with each other and with me. So that's really a treat.
Yeah, and Bob, you do a lot of supervision too. I mean, that's the other great thing. You see a lot of these students in the, you know, in the coursework, but then you follow them through to completion often too, which is, that's such a satisfying role to play.
Absolutely is.
And you're good at it. You're very good at it.
There's something wonderful about supervising research projects, especially the kinds of research projects that are available in the MEEC program. If you can imagine it, you can do it. So you're not forced into doing some kind of academic project that you're not particularly interested in. It's whatever you want to do, whatever matters most to you in your life that you're curious about, you really want to know about. You can do that in this program. So I'm supervising someone now that is a martial artist, and she wants to learn a new form of martial arts that she believes will change her muscle dynamics so that she'll experience herself even more deeply as part of the world. That's a project you can do in the MEEC program.
I'm on that committee with you.
Right.
We're doing that together, you and I. Yeah.
Right. Someone else is, she was really interested in women's decisions to reproduce or not at this time. And so she's writing her research as a letter. She has a daughter who's an infant, and she's writing this as a letter to her adult daughter, talking about this process of exploring the options of reproducing or not, and the things that came up for her, and why her daughter doesn't have a sister, why she chose not to have a second child. So that's fantastic. To have your research project as a letter to your adult daughter, that's a remarkable freedom that you don't find in many academic programs. So I think
and it's no less rigorous. I mean, it's still
no.
incredibly beautifully researched, incredible writing, most excellent writing, and you know, so it's this is the place to really do that kind of stretch into an identity piece. For
Absolutely. Sure. I'm an ogre for writing. I demand really high quality writing. So the alternate approaches are harder.
They are
easier than standard academic work. They're much more challenging.
It's almost like you have to do double.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So the last thing I want to say is just one of the the kind of baselines for the course I teach. When students come and they say, gosh, I'm just really confused, I don't know what's going on, I say, perfect. You're approaching the exalted Buddhist state of don't know mind. Because when we allow ourselves to live with that sense of doubt, of unknowing, we're completely open to learning about the world. And to the extent we hold firmly to our knowledge and our opinions about, oh, I know how things are, we're not really open to learning new stuff. We can rearrange the deck chairs on our inner Titanic, But if we really want to explore it and be willing to learn, we have to be willing to live with that sense of don't know mind.
Right. So we make space. You see, that's letting go. We were talking about that before this webinar. It's the ability to let go and to make space for something new to emerge. And that doesn't always happen right away. Sometimes there's a period of time that's just a little bit uncomfortable,
Oh, yeah.
the not knowing and not knowing where to go. And that's part of the beautiful struggle too. We want to stay with some of that trouble sometimes.
Yeah.
But
And
with
that's
good
great.
guidance.
We don't have to actually make the space. It's always there.
Mhm.
We simply have to slow down and acknowledge it.
Yeah, nice.
Not continue to fill our mind with what we already know, but be willing to step into that borderland of uncertainty.
Well, I'm going to segue a little bit into the course that I teach from there, Bob.
Yes,
because,
please.
yeah, I teach
What are you
at
reading
509.
now? What stuff is really important to you?
So EcoPsych 509, just not necessarily, often we say, oh, go journal on your lunch or go do this in your own time. Within the curriculum, I've created space, and I have, intentionally created arts-based inquiry and all different modalities, ways of learning about becoming more tender with the earth. And this is a kind of counterbalance to traditional psychologies. And it's more of a systems approach to psychology. It's more of a holistic approach that comes from the biological ecological model. And it aligns beautifully with indigenous perspectives too, and traditionally held wisdom that we all belong here. We all serve a purpose. Everyone is alive. Everything is alive. That we learn best through stories and stories within stories and remembering, and all life is sacred, and that this is just, we try to create what I do with this course is I borrow from Joanna Macy's the work that reconnects, her beautiful elegant work in a fourfold, 4 sections that we run the course in, that begins with gratitude. When we're going to be facing the difficulties we're seeing in the world right now, we have to begin in gratitude and presence even to those difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move into an ability, a competency to be able to grieve, to have outrage, to have fear, to have emptiness, to be able to express our full human feelings in elegant, facilitated ways, so that we can actually kind of cook some of that material that we need to cook and let it be expressed in safe ways, in artistic ways, in embodied processes, in writing, in discussions and small group work. And then, just like after a good cry, you start to see the world with new eyes. And in that space,
just to step in there,
Yep.
that
Yep.
artistic bit.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about the bodies of work, because I find that just
I
wonderful.
will. Yeah, I will. I'll get to that. I'll finish with that. Thanks, Bob. I know I'm really going over time here, so I want to be really careful. But thank you for that. And you're part of that. And there's a picture of that coming up. So we move to the seeing the world with new eyes, and that's a way to start to see the world with these new eyes that are no longer paralyzed or denying what we see or unable to express the pain that we feel, so that we're just kind of clean as we approach the world. We go forth with active hope. And the final assignment is a full life body of work that students draw and they write and they put photographs and they bring in natural elements and they really represent a snapshot of themselves in the world in this moment. And Bob has often been there for the presentation of the bodies of work. And it is just an outrageously beautiful moment in time. One girl I can remember who had a very, very simple body, a very galaxy-like stars, and she had this gold hay for hair. And that morning riding into Royal Road, she lived just in town, she saw the same grasses she used for her hair, and there was garbage in it when she was stopped at the stop sign. And what she found herself yelling, "Oh my gosh, there's garbage in my hair." So she was really deeply relating, identifying with her hair and this grass. It's just this beautiful kind of, it's just an exceptional project that they really get into. And I've written a chapter on it actually in a Brill book. It's a wonderful experience for them. And I'm always glad you're there, Bob, for that. That's
Always
great.
fun. I
Yeah.
remember the first time I heard about it, it was like, oh, this is pretty hokey for university. But I got in there and I just went, whoa,
Mhm.
this is
Well,
powerful stuff.
if we look at the etymology of eco-psychology, eco meaning home, oikos, the Greek word, psyche, Greek again for soul, and logos for knowing or study. So world soul knowing, that's that second residency. We really dive in, and that's a compliment to field school. So they come to me after field school.
Yeah.
But anyways, I better go back to the slides and get everybody back on board. Thanks, Bob, and thanks, Liza, and thanks, Gio. And if we have any kinds of questions or anything, I guess, yes, and Bob, I want to also say, remember Bob's a Kelly Award winner. Thanks, Liza. He also won our Best Teaching Award. So that's great. Okay, so I'm just going to head off into the next slides, if I may. And so, Christy, are you back?
I think you can keep carrying on along this part as well too, but I've been thoroughly enjoying that discussion. Thank you all so
Okay.
much for—
Sorry, I have to
contributing.
cut it short. Yeah. So we'll go into the program structure, you and I together. So this is a blended program that starts with the residencies, as we said, Gio and Liza's course on campus, and then it goes online until the next summer when they come to field school and to my course, and then they go off and do their research, and then finish with a third residency, a shorter residency on campus. So it's really got a little bit of everything. The program is designed quite beautifully, as it starts as the first 3 courses could be taken as a graduate certificate in environmental education and communication. And so it's 5 months long. It's the first 3 weeks on campus, the first residency with Gio and Liza, and then 1 distance-based course in learning design. So really you're getting understandings of the environment, environmental understandings, environmental communication, and then how to take all of that and make it pedagogical in kind of learning design and teaching and curriculum. And it's worth 9 credits. And those are the courses, of course. There's 500 is Liza's, 503 is Gio's, and 508 is the learning theory and program design. That's a picture of us all out at Whitty's Lagoon one day in my class in the summer. So just you can see how the whole world is our classroom. And then if you decide to do all the coursework in the program, you could graduate with a graduate diploma in environmental education and communication. And it's a little bit longer because you take more courses, obviously, and you do the second residency in the second summer. So it's 21 credits, and here are the courses. Again, 500 and 503, the first residency, 508, the first learning theory course, and then you do a beautiful systems course, and you do a research methods course, and then you come in the summer for field school, 586, which is held in Indigenous coastal communities around BC. We've been to Tofino and Ucluelet, Salt Spring Island. There's all kinds of various options for us every summer. So you do a week in field school, and then you come back to campus for 2 weeks for 509 for the eco-psychology course. And if you decide to go all the way, you've done the coursework and you've completed either a major research project or a thesis. And I'll talk a little bit about that. The whole program is 2 years and a bit. There's the 3 on-campus residencies, the first 2 courses with Liza and Gio, the second summer with myself in the field school, and then the third summer you come for a shorter kind of capstone. An implementation kind of, you know, here's what you've learned, what are you going to do with it now? And there's distance learning in between, and the whole kit and caboodle is 36 credits. So again, here's the courses that you've already seen. The addition here is 690, which is a thesis, or there's an MRP. Oh, I see we don't have the new number for the MRP up there, but that's okay. It's an old slide. And then we have the 680, which is the third residency. So I'll just say the major research project is 9 credits. And so that means you have room to take an elective. And Bob's course, 510, Worldviews and Ethics, is one of those electives. Or we have an outdoor experiential education course, or sometimes people find a course they want to take in general studies. But if you're doing a thesis, which is 12 credits, you don't need that elective. That's a little bit more. So here's Christy now with how to apply.
Thank you. And I will say now's a great time if you have any questions that you want to pop into the chat box, feel free to do that. And I will touch on a few that were submitted ahead of time when people were registering. So excuse me if I'm looking at my second screen here, but someone had been wondering what kinds of careers can you expect to get when you're out of the program?
Right. Well, an awful lot of our folks are educators. Many of them are in the K-12 system or the post-secondary system. A number of people are journalists or, write for a living in some capacity. We have all kinds of people who do kind of non-traditional work, such as, we have folks that are kayak instructors. We have people who do adventure therapy, outdoor education in non-school form. We have folks that are policy writers in government. We have folks that are doing science work, doing field work. One girl who's working with a very fragile frog population, and she's doing just a beautiful project in her area. It's very varied because we've got the education piece, but also communication. So, it's kind of a wonderful MA from that regard. And one student that I supervised a number of years ago, immediately upon graduating, got a job in the North representing 67% of all Parks Canada programming. I mean, what a great job to get, with that MA. So anyways, that's just a couple of ideas there. Thanks, Christy.
Perfect. And for those who still want to work at the same time as going to school, can you speak to a little bit about what that experience is like, if it's possible, things like that?
Well, it is possible, but it's ambitious and it's intense, and we know that. And so you can expect about 15 to 20 hours a week on your online courses. And sometimes it's a bit more when there's an assignment due, and sometimes it's a bit less at the beginning of a course. But yeah, you have to kind of make a contract with yourself and say, well, maybe for 2 years I won't be, watching that much Netflix. Maybe I'll be really more disciplined and say, I'm going to devote myself for the next 2 years, which would go by anyways, and get myself an MA. And it's, the beautiful thing about this program is it's designed to provide leave for people without penalty. You can take up to 1 year leave without any penalty, because we know life happens. We know that sometimes people get sick, or we have older parents, or a baby's born, or a job has changed, or you have to move. And so we have, you can take 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever works for your life. And so there's all kinds of accommodations there too. So it is very possible. We have a wonderful graduation record, and yet it demands a lot of you. So you have to really say, this is a time for you to step into your mastery of self, of time, of you're self-directing yourself a lot with this kind of study. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Christy.
Thank you. Question here. We have a question from Antonia about this. Bev, this might be one that would be helpful if you could chime in on as well. What would be the best option to have our qualifications evaluated? Would it be best to have it done through Royal Roads or WES or IQAS? Hilary, do you have any insights on that one? I'm not too sure, so.
I'm not sure what we're talking about here. So she's looking to have some other qualifications evaluated. Well, she should talk to Bev at Royal Roads first, for sure, and just see what you've got so that we can, start to move from there. And Bev could give you the best advice. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Don't
definitely
let it hold you back. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, totally. So she's definitely the expert in that. So Antonia, she can send you a private message, or we'll have contact info at the end as well. Catherine is asking, is there an opportunity to learn about the weather and that form of environmental communication?
To learn about the weather. Well, we actually have someone right now who's doing something on weather. Hey, Gio, do you want to pop in here?
Sure, thanks, Hilary. Actually, one of our major research paper students, you can do a thesis or a major research paper, is doing a research project, really interesting one, on the difference between what we know about weather and what we actually can do about climate. And her operating assumption going into it is that many people conflate the two, they confuse the two, and they don't understand the difference. A strength that strikes me about this program is you get two strengths. Number one, you get a lot of flexibility in designing a study that is of practical use and intellectual interest to you. And number two, you get an immense amount of support. You're barely in the program before you're signed up with one-on-one, and this is an unusual thing. It's something MEEC students might take for granted, but it's a gift from our eminent program head. One-on-one thesis consultations and final project consultations with Hilary. So very early in the program, you get to start thinking about what you might do, and then you can start tailoring some of your assignments and some of your learning around that as a lead up to your project. And the question that you ask, the topic that you're interested in is exactly would fit in beautifully with the kinds of work that we encourage and like to see, and that students like to do in our program.
Yeah, you're right, Gio. It's so wonderful because, and I was thinking of that same project. Thank you for that. I think you're supervising that project actually, so I'm very happy you're on this call. You know, taking something like a focus of weather, you know, and running that through all of your coursework for your assignments. I mean, what a great lens to bring. So by the time you get into your research at the end, you've really had some time with this subject and how you want to look at it, which might have changed from the very beginning in your beginning thoughts. But we want to talk about dreaming into this at the very beginning so that you pull those threads that are really important to you and very particular to what you're passionate about through the whole program while you're learning other content, while you're working in all these modalities. I can see Bob here. Bob, do you want to say something?
Yeah, it's just, I think it's really interesting to note when we start looking within that we have inner weather as well. That we have inner weather patterns. Often we try to control our inner emotional experience, and it's helpful to recognize, oh, I have inner weather that I'm not in charge of, but that I can learn to relate to all my different moods and feelings.
Well, you know, I'm writing on inner climate change right now, so that fits really well, Bob. We should talk. Liza, yes, I could see you. Yeah.
So I wanted to add and complement Bob's inner weather with outer weather, because one of my passions is to look at clouds and be totally tuned in to the moon and the clouds and what's going on around us in reconnecting ourselves more powerfully to what we experience. And people today tend to be very disconnected, waiting for someone to tell them what the weather forecast today is. But if we actually tune in more powerfully to the cues that we get from nature around us, we actually are more in tune and can predict so much more ourselves. As an outdoor educator, I depend on being able to read weather myself to be more in touch with what's coming.
And Liza, as a sailor, Liza, you need to see, as a sailor, you need to see what's coming on the horizon.
That's right. So we had beautiful sunshine today. You'd never know it, but looking at the clouds, I knew this weather system's coming in, and now we're getting some rain in about half hour. Mm-hmm. So we're in tune with weather, inner, outer, climate, weather. There's so much variety there.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, everybody. Christy?
Yeah, thank you all so much. Just looking at the time, I think we'll keep going along with the admissions just for the folks that need to head off right at 1 p.m. But I see we have a few more questions, so we'll try to get to those after this section. Just keeping in mind the time so we can respect all of your schedules today. But to head into our standard admissions here, so you may have had a chance to read through that, but that would be a 4-year undergraduate or degree in a related field with a minimum GPA of a B, at least 2 years of relevant work experience or volunteer experience. And then applicants who meet the degree requirements, but not the GPA, will normally be required to take our academic writing and critical thinking course ahead of time before starting the program. And then if you don't fit into that box for standard admissions, I wouldn't fret just yet, because we also have flexible admissions too. So this is for applicants who don't meet the requirements that were on the last slide. This could look like normally 6 years of relevant work experience instead, or of an equivalent combination of education and experience, and a combination of post-secondary and professional accredited qualifications, and then again, generally required to take the academic writing and critical thinking course. So if you aren't too sure where you fit in, if your qualifications will match up, you can definitely reach out to our enrollment team, which will have their information on a few slides from now. And then how to apply. So we have an online application fee of $126.28 to start us off. And then there's some supporting documents that go along with that. So there's the official transcripts. Those need to arrive to us sealed from whichever previous institutions that you've attended. Next, we have our detailed resume. This can be quite a bit longer than a typical resume that you would think of for, say, like a job application. It can be as detailed and lengthy as you need to communicate everything that you want us to know as far as education experience, professional experience, but also volunteer, any specific projects you want to speak to as well that you think would be applicable to your application. And then we also have the personal statement here. It's a great complimentary piece to go with your resume. And this is a space where you can really put down onto paper why you want to be in this program, talk a little bit more about your experiences in depth, how it will contribute to your goals for your career, and if you will be the right fit for the program. It helps us see the whole picture of you. And Hilary, I was wondering if you wanted,
I want to jump in and say, and your passion. We want, this is the document that we read to get a real sense of you. So really give us this sense of what, the essence of you, and why you're drawn to this, why now, what is the work you're called to do in the world, and how do you see yourself, even if you're not quite knowing exactly, just laying it down and getting it on paper. Because if that doesn't show up there, we don't get a real sense of you just from a resume. It's just impossible. This is your chance to really shine.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing on there is 2 letters of reference. So the ideal for that is to have 1 professional reference and 1 educational reference. But there is a little wiggle room there if you've been out of school for a large number of years, for example, or something like that.
But we don't want a friend to send a letter in for you. We want some professional, someone who can speak to what you've done, or, your schooling. And that's just a picture of someone doing a body of work in reference back to what Bob was saying about that exercise. But let's carry on. We're almost at time.
Yeah, and we're almost just have a few slides left. Here's some key dates that you'll want to make a note of. Our next intake is July 12th, 2021, and the application deadline is April 12th, 2021, or you can look ahead to the year after that if you're thinking that would be a better fit for you. And then we also have a whole financial aid team that is amazing, and they're here to help. We have their information on the slide there if you want to jot it down. I reached out to them when I was going back to school at Royal Roads, and I found they were extremely helpful in finding different solutions for me and different awards and bursaries I could apply for. They helped me with my student loan applications and things like that. So definitely something to think about. And since we do have a smaller student body at Royal Roads, you actually have a pretty good chance of getting some of those awards and bursaries that you apply for. And some of them do go unclaimed if they don't have enough people apply and the right folks. So definitely doesn't hurt.
They're amazing people. They're really, really helpful.
And then our enrollment team. So Bev is one example of our awesome enrollment services team, but we have a whole amazing team that is there to help out. You can reach out to them there. We have their information if you're a Canadian student, or also if you're coming in internationally as well. That team will be the best to kind of help you through that process. And with that,
everyone for joining us. We made it just at 1 o'clock. And if there's folks who want to stay, we can answer some questions, that's for sure. I really want to thank our guests, Dr. Liza Ireland, Dr. Gio Takach, and Dr. Bob Kull, my esteemed colleagues. It feels like such a privilege to work with you guys. It's also fun. I mean, right? How can this be? It's fantastic. And you're all just, your own brilliant, unique contributors to this amazing program. So I'm so thrilled you could come and speak a little bit today with us. So I'm sorry it was short. We could spend hours, but thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Yep. So I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Hilary.
Take care. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
And Christy, do we have any questions here that you'd like me to answer now, or do we think that folks will stay on?
I do see some people dropping off, but there's one we can answer very quickly, which is, will the program be completely online for the next set of registrants due to COVID?
Well, we can't tell. We don't really know. We're planning, and hoping, and got protocols in place, and we're working on plans for next summer to be, safely distanced, but out, doing our stuff outside. Most of our program is outside, including field school. So we think we have a pretty good chance, especially now with some of the good news about vaccines. And, but of course, right now we're in a bit of a second wave, so it's hard to know. So we're planning for both. And we know we can deliver beautifully both ways. So my hope is that we will be on campus, and we'll just have to see how it goes. Of course, we'll follow all of the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health guidelines, that's for sure. But I also want to say there's someone here from Ontario about residency, wondering about residency. We do have residences on campus. There's not too many of them, but they are here and they're not expensive, but they're not ideal. There's no kitchen access, and, mostly rooms, and with a shared kind of microwave and fridges and things. But some people stay at Airbnbs, some people camp, some people stay with relatives, but the reses are okay. And the one complaint I hear is that people can't really cook up a storm. So that's the one thing about that. But yes, there are on-campus options, and lots of options all around us. Go ahead, Christy.
Sorry, I see Shannon said she sent in a question ahead of time, and I'm just, sorry, I have my directions in this sense so I can see if I can look it up in the registration sheet here, but also we can follow up with you afterwards about that, and you can get in touch with
and it's on the web page. It's also on the website. The requirements are on the website, but please reach out to us, Shannon, because we'd love to have a conversation. And there's Robine who wants to know where the recording is going to be.
It is going to be with me, and soon in your inboxes after that. So once we finish up today, I'll get everything uploaded and ready to go, and then you can expect it probably today or tomorrow, depending on how fast things upload and working with technology. But yes, everybody will be getting a copy of the recording today.
And I can see that Tim has asked how many people apply compared to seats available. Well, this is a pretty small program, and so usually, we don't want to go too high of numbers, but we have room now. Still, we're still accepting applications, and our numbers have never been higher. I'll just say, in our whole school this year, environmental school, it's quite a surprise. But during COVID, our numbers have all just shot up. So, it would be great to be in a position where, we were over full, but right now we still have some room. But I can't say how long that will last, just based on this new pattern that we saw last year, which was really quite a delight and a surprise, but not something we'd seen in a while. So the numbers are all going up all the time. So Tim, if you're interested, get your application in. That's all I can say. Yeah. Okay. Does that seem like we've done okay, or we've got a few more messages?
There's one from Angie here that I'm a working biologist, and the summer is field season for us and hard to get away. If you do end up having this portion of the program in person, is there any leeway for working professionals to do it online?
Yeah, there hasn't been up until this point, because the residency is such a different experience. In fact, field school can't be replicated online. So we actually canceled it this summer, and we're having a double field school next summer, we hope. And so, yeah, it is tricky. I know it's tricky for people who work in the field in the summer. It's like taking holiday. You have to take the 2 or 3 week holiday. And I'm sorry, that's the way it work itself out. We've considered moving the program to other times of the year, the residency, the start date. However, we have so many K-12 teachers and educators that we find that the summertime does work for them. But you might want to look at the Masters of Environmental Management program, which starts in the fall, and their residency is in September, October. October, November. So that might also, there's an MA in the environmental management side of the house, Angie. So while I'd like to see you here, I can also speak for that program's excellence. So here we go. How can we enroll in the academic writing course? Yes, through professional and continuing studies. Thanks, Bev. Are there any more questions here that you want to go over, Christy?
I think we covered them all at this point, but if anything comes up, and as I speak, I'm still in a BSc degree, but interested in applying. I don't have my final year grade yet because I'm currently completing it. How are we able to enroll while finishing a final year?
Right, so that's happened, of course, in the past. So you still put in your application, and the condition would be that we receive your grades when they come in. That would be in April, likely April or May. Provided things run normally for you, but you want to also watch that you have the work experience too, because if you're coming from an undergrad, you still want to have a couple of years, really good years of experience with this field, so that you're not just going from degree to degree, because we've often found that people weren't quite ready if they hadn't also had that kind of background of being in the world and doing applied work. So yeah, be happy to talk with you, Tess. So you could also call me. We could have a conversation. Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Well, then you're perfect. I see it. Environmental education for 5 years. Then I say, bring on your application, Tess. And get that MA. Right. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Perfect. All right. And with that, I think we're ready to wrap up for today, everybody. But if you have any questions come up, feel free to reach out to our team and we'd be happy to answer them. So thank you all for joining us so much. For our guests today, and Hilary, thank you so much for facilitating our conversation and everything.
Oh, Christy, it's such a joy. It was so much fun. And thanks, Mark, and thanks, Bev, for all the help. It takes a team, takes a village to make this kind of thing happen. But thank you. I'm just really super thrilled that we all got together. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. And I hope to see your applications cross my desk.
Righty.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Yeah.
Have a good day.
Bye for now.